So the reason why I've been doing videos every 2 days is because I do believe that there's no reason for me to make a video about every single playoff game that there is. Honestly, I think it's much better to make them two at a time because even in the finals, I don't want to run out of topics. I do understand that the playoffs are the best place to be, but also with the reduced amount of games and storylines, there's only really four teams that I can focus on. And honestly, the games, I'm gonna make the videos about the games, but I also want to give some light that not every game is built the same, and not every game is as interesting as the ones that we're having. So first, I want to talk about, in this video, I'm going to talk about the previous two games which we had, which were the Minnesota Timberwolves versus Dallas Mavericks, right? And I'm gonna talk about the Boston Celtics versus the Indiana Pacers. About the Celtics and Pacers game, I really do think that this was one of the worst matchups that we've had. And a big reason as to why that was because even though we have had a very competent Celtics team throughout this season, it seemed like they just kind of faded away in the minutes of the first series. In the first 48 minutes really of the first series. It seems like they have had problems getting their stuff together, getting people to buy into the culture, and it seems like their three-point shooting heavy scheme has just completely flamed out. And honestly, you know what? Never mind. I'm gonna make two videos. Really, I'm gonna make two. I have to because I've been posting inconsistently. There's been a lot going on, so I'm gonna prioritize posting two videos. So about the Celtics, really, the Celtics are the best team in the league in terms of record. And they've earned what they have. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people are going to say the Celtics have had the easiest road to a championship out of any team. And it's like, yes, but that's what you get for being a first seed. In NBA history and historically, we've seen that it is very important for teams to get that first seed so that they can abuse those matchups, so that they can get the easier rosters. It's only recently that we've had these first seeds go through these extremely tough, playoff opponents, and now that the Celtics are the ones getting the good end of the stick, we want to kind of, throw crap on them, which I believe is unfair because as a team, the Celtics don't really deserve any of the hate for getting easy matchups. That's just how the playoffs play out a lot of the time. So when it comes to the Pacers, they really have been one of the better teams in these playoffs. And the biggest reason as to why is health. Because they have had an easy run. They had Milwaukee, which is not an easy team, and especially when they have Giannis, they are probably one of the best teams in the league. Well, they are one of the best teams in the league, but for their lack of superstars, their injuries, and everything that has happened to Milwaukee, it is kind of crazy that they're still alive in this picture. And the Pacers got them. The Pacers were able to win the series. And with that being said, I do believe that it was pretty crazy when that was celebrated as kind of this huge W, but it's like that is not a huge W. Like the Bucks are good. You beating them in the playoffs is definitely something monumental for the Pacers, but when you look at the landscape in general, they did not have Giannis. So not having Giannis is a huge thing. Now that they're in the conference finals and that we got this game the other day, it is very important to look at that both of these teams have had extremely easy runs. Yes, the Pacers had to deal with a lot of stuff in the New York series, but after their stars started going down, and especially after Jaylen Brunson went down in that last game, it was kind of over for any hopes that there were in terms of, consistency. They won, and now both of these teams, the Celtics and the Pacers, get to match up against each other. Now, if we're being real, the reason why the Pacers lost this game was because the Celtics just managed to hit the right shots in the right moments. And I mean that in the most sincere way possible. They outplayed them in every way. They had more assists, more rebounds, less offensive rebounds, but less steals and less blocks. But all of these margins are not huge. They were not beating them by a big amount. But the one thing that the Celtics did have over the Pacers was that the Pacers fouled Boston like there was no tomorrow. They conceded 21 personal fouls, and Boston shot 30 free throws. And it was just kind of crazy how the Pacers were able to play such a great game. They shot 54% from the field. They shot 37% from three. They shot 90% from the free throw line. But the one thing that Boston won off of was those free throws. I also have to say a shout out to Jaylen Brown. He dropped 26 points this game and hit 1 3, and that three was to send the game to overtime. And it was one of the better threes that we've seen and one of the better clutch shots that he's hit in his career, if we're being honest, due to the gravity and the importance of this moment. I want to say that Tatum had a pretty decent game. I know he scored 36 points and he had 12 rebounds, but shooting 2 of 8 from three and having 4 turnovers, meanwhile doing all of that, is kind of crazy. Also, that if you watch the game, you would know that he was taking a lot of terrible decisions before overtime, which would have cost them the game if Jaylen Brown had not been just Superman. Third, I want to say that Pascal Siakam needs to probably check something, because that ball was grabbable. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, before the game ended, there was a ball which basically changed the tide of the game. Before the Jaylen Brown three, Pascal went to go grab a ball and he committed 2 mistakes, in a row, which basically led them to have another chance, led the Celtics to have another chance at actually getting a shot off, and that was really what changed the tide of this game. And finally, I also want to say this, shout out to Halliburton for actually stepping up and being great in this game, because I feel like a lot of people thought he was going to choke, and he's been great throughout these playoffs. Now, what I want to say about the Pacers is that they need to keep fighting. If you almost took game 1 in Boston, then that would be something very important to any team. And honestly, the way that they played this game is representative of a weakness that the Boston Celtics have. Yes, the Celtics can shoot threes. Yes, the Celtics can score. But a big problem is that the Celtics don't know how to guard fast offenses. Because they have guys which are normally slow to the feet, are kind of less paced, and are just play kind of worse. And what I mean by that is, like, Jason Tatum is a great defender, but he has really slow feet, right? Drew Holiday is a great defender, but against faster, younger guards, he normally gets lost. After we've seen guys like Jaylen Brown be the only real, like, 5-star defenders on the team in terms of, like, age and consistency, but Jaylen Brown is also the second option on offense, so how are you balancing that out? And in my opinion, a guy like Derek White, which also holds other skills, has been repeatedly underperforming, even though he has played well in this series so far. So I feel like that the Pacers could probably abuse some of the things, but if we're being real, the Celtics are going to win this series. The Celtics are better prepared, they have a better roster, they have a better chance, and also they just have the personnel to put so much pressure on the Pacers that the Pacers are going to have to play 40 minutes a night out of each one of their stars just to even think about trying to make these games close. It happened in game 1, and it's probably going to happen in the rest of the games of the series. As for Halliburton, I would say try your hardest. You almost beat them. Win a few games. This is your legacy on the line, and if you could get to the finals, which is something that I'm gonna doubt, but let's say the Pacers do. If they could get to the finals, it's gonna be a completely different story of how good Tyrese Halliburton is and pulling this Pacers team out of the 6th seed. But if we're being honest, the Celtics are gonna win. And as much as I don't like the Celtics, I do think that they deserve to get to the finals because of how masterful of a rebuild they've done throughout this time. And by the way, I'm not rooting for any of these two teams. I think that they're both good. I'm just enjoying the games. And obviously, there's a little bit of underdog for the Pacers, but not much.